can do it till 45, 50, but you still love it, enjoy it, 100% like you start that thing.
There was no teaser, no poster, no hype, just a quiet 30-second training video dropped without warning. No cinematic shots, no dramatic edits only. The raw sounds of greatness, gloves cracking pads, shoes squeaking on canvas, and the rhythm of a legend refusing to fade. Manny Pacquiao was back, and within minutes, the world noticed, not just fans, fighters, trainers, analysts, TikTokers, even people who'd left boxing behind, hit play, then replay, then froze in disbelief. This wasn't nostalgia, it wasn't a warm-up, it was hunger. Pacquiao tore through crisp double jabs and whipping left hooks, his footwork slicing through space with clean pivots. Every move radiated sharpness, precision, and purpose, the kind of form that makes even elite fighters stop and stare.
Yep. Goes to the flurry again. Yep. Goes to the flurry.
By the end of the day, the video had gone global, reploaded on YouTube, dissected in boxing forums, and shared by sports pages that usually only cared about NBA hot takes. It wasn't even about whether Manny Pacquiao was staging a comeback. It was about what the world had just witnessed. And in the middle of all the fire emojis, stunned comments, and viral clips, one name was notably missing: Canelo Álvarez. His silence echoed louder than any applause. Because when one legend watches another, sometimes the truest reaction is the quietest. This wasn't flashy, performative training, it was the real thing, the kind that feels like a fight without gloves. Pacquiao's workout wasn't a vanity display or a ceremonial shadow box. It was tight, calculated, purposeful. He started with a basic 1-2, moved, snapped a double jab, pivoted into a body hook, each combination thrown like it was meant to end a round. His footwork never stopped, carving out space with micro shuffles, creating angles where none should exist. The rhythm stayed relentless, his eyes locked in with laser focus, like a man solving a puzzle at full speed. What stunned people wasn't just that Manny Pacquiao looked sharp for his age, it was that he looked sharp, period. Elite speed, elite timing, the kind that rivals fighters 20 years younger. It didn't feel like a trip down memory lane. It felt like a warning. The comment sections weren't filled with "remember when," they were filled with "if he wanted to." Because this wasn't a man who just stayed in shape, this was a man who stayed in form. As if he never left the gym. As if time simply chose not to touch him. Boxing YouTubers dissected the footage. Analysts made side-by-side comparisons. Fans started to ask, if Pacquiao isn't planning a comeback, then what exactly is he preparing for? This wasn't a casual tune-up or a flex for legacy, it was obsession dressed up as routine. A 46-year-old man moving like the clock never started ticking. Most fighters retire into silence, fade into comfort, their hunger replaced by peace. But Manny Pacquiao is different. He never truly vanishes. Even in quiet, he lingers, not just in highlight reels, but in the way fans still talk about him, like he could walk into a ring tomorrow and rewrite history. Because Pacquiao never behaved like he left. He still trains, still spars, still moves, with that same storm in his step and that same smile on his face. And when you see him working the mitts, it doesn't feel like nostalgia, it feels like a story that still isn't finished.
Hawak ng kasama din natin na so
Pacquiao's legend was never just built on belts or knockouts, it was forged in that relentless, almost irrational love for the grind. In a sport where ego wrecks careers and pride buries champions, Manny stayed grounded. He trained like a hungry rookie even when he stood as a global icon. That's what makes this new video hit so deeply, not because it shocked us, but because it reminded us. It's familiar. You're watching a man who refuses to abandon the discipline that made him. His body, conditioned for war for decades, simply doesn't understand rest. This wasn't a 46-year-old clinging to relevance, it was a fighter still, obsessed with the rhythm of breath, the sting of leather, and the quiet pursuit of perfection. Fans didn't react because the video was fast, they reacted because it was real. No edits, no hype machine, no gimmicks, just truth. In an era flooded with promo cuts and manufactured drama, it felt like a glimpse behind the curtain. A reminder of what greatness looks like when no one's watching. And while Manny never said a word about Canelo Álvarez, never tagged him, never called him out his name, still echoed in every thread, every comment section. Canelo didn't respond, didn't repost, didn't flinch, publicly. But in boxing, silence from a peer isn't nothing, its weight. Its presence. Because when one giant stirs, the world instinctively checks the other's pulse. Pacquiao's clip didn't need words. It said everything. In a quiet moment, in the middle of a boxing drought, he gave the sport something real. In doing so, he put every active champion, especially the biggest one, back under the microscope. It wasn't shade, it wasn't a comparison, it was energy, pure, undeniable energy. Canelo Álvarez may be the face of modern boxing, active, dominant, powerful, but Manny Pacquiao remains the soul of an era that refuses to fade. And when Manny shows up shredded, sharp, and burning with fire in his bones, he doesn't need to speak. It's not a call-out, it's a silent challenge, not in rivalry, but in example. In a sport where some champions coast between fights and training, clips feel overproduced and hollow. Pacquiao's raw display landed like a shockwave. Suddenly, fans weren't just watching, they were comparing. Not punch for punch or title for title, but spirit for spirit. That's why Canelo's name kept rising in the conversation. Not because Manny aimed it at him, but because fans saw him in the footage. They asked, could Canelo move like that at 46? Would he even want to? It wasn't disrespect, it was admiration. Because when Pacquiao trains like that, he makes everyone, even the kings of today, look inward, with doubt, but with purpose. It's a reminder of why they started. When Pacquiao drops 30 seconds of myth-destroying work, the whole sport feels it. No fight date, no camp, no pay-per-view countdown. Officially, Manny's not coming back. But his training says otherwise. The sharpness, the urgency, the complete refusal to cost it doesn't scream retired. So why does he still train like a man chasing legacy? The answer isn't complicated, it's just rare. Manny Pacquiao isn't chasing fame. He doesn't need money, spotlight, or validation. He's already conquered 8 weight classes, ruled for 2 decades, and carved his name into history. What he needs, what he's always needed, is motion, rhythm, the hum of the gym, the crack of leather, the grind. Because for Manny, the fight was never just in the ring, it was in the routine. And that routine still breathes, still fights, still speaks without saying a word. For Manny Pacquiao, training was never just a job, it was identity, escape, survival. Even now, in a life wrapped in politics, diplomacy, and global fame, the ring remains the one place that makes perfect sense. No scripts, no handlers, no noise, focus, and fight. That's why he still runs hills before sunrise. Why his shadowboxing still snaps with purpose. Why he pushes his body like there's an opponent waiting just out of frame. Pacquiao doesn't train because he's planning a comeback. He trains because stopping would feel like betraying the man he used to be. The one who never quit. That's what makes his workouts hit harder than most fight promos. They're not performances, they're reminders. Greatness isn't forged under bright lights. It's built in silence, in sweat, when no one's watching. We've seen training videos from fighters before fans are used to them. Neon-lit gyms, heavy bag punishment, cut to music, flashy edits, and the inevitable shirtless flex. That's the era now, more branding than boxing. Image over effort, aesthetics over hunger. But Manny's clip wasn't that. No slow motion, no sponsor tags, no performance. Just a man in his mid-40s, in plain gym clothes, ripping through combinations, like he was owed something by time. And that's what shook people. It wasn't about a comeback, not really. If Pacquiao was returning, the world would know. He's never been one to whisper when a fight is near. This was something unspoken moment that made the boxing world pause, do a double take, and ask, wait, is he really still doing this?